Thank you so much. Obviously, it's great to be here in Atlanta at the Peach Bowl and a New Year's Six opportunity for Michigan State football in our university. So it's been a good week. Obviously, Atlanta's been very welcoming, great hospitality, and really have enjoyed it. I think the kids have enjoyed it. We've had good preparation. Very thankful to Georgia Tech to open their facilities for us here for a couple days earlier in the week preparation. And then obviously we had a chance to go over to Mercedes-Benz yesterday. So kids, I think that was one of their highlights. I mean, obviously I've had an opportunity to be in there before, but some of them was the first time. And obviously it's an unbelievable venue and really excited about that. So it's been a good week, and obviously need to continue to prep and look forward to a great game against Pitt here in a couple days.
All right. Thanks for that, Coach. As usual, media, please go ahead and use the raise hand feature for questions, and we'll start off with Jonathan Schott. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hey, Coach, obviously your offense has had a really good year with a lot of big numbers and big plays from the skill position guys. But how much of the offense's success this year is a result of the development of the offensive line? And how excited are you about the future for that position group?
Oh, I think you hit it right on the head. Obviously, we have been blessed with our skilled guys, as you mentioned, but the O-line and what Coach Cap has done has been really awesome to see. You know, one of the things that I think was a huge benefit for us earlier in the year was we obviously, as the season goes, you have certain injuries that have occurred, but earlier in the year we certainly were able to play. I think at certain games early in the year we were playing 9 guys pretty effectively, and that has really paid dividends for us late in the season. And we did have some of those, you hate to say, kind of normal year-long things happen, very injury, banged up, and things like that. So their development has been great, and we've had some veteran guys there that have played a lot of football here at Michigan State, and those guys working with the young guys, it's really a spot we put a lot of emphasis on, and I think that's showing, and our success really starts there with those guys, and like I said, they've done a nice job.
All right, next we'll go to Chris Solari.
Hey, Jay. It seems like from all accounts that Nailor and Reed are both back for you guys. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's fair.
What do those two add in terms of the dynamic that maybe was missing the last few weeks, and what do you see from the offense right now as you go into this?
Right. I think obviously, you know, as you mentioned earlier in the year, when you have both of those guys, they're obviously you know, a couple of our top skilled guys, and their playmaking ability speaks for itself. And so I think anytime that you can have more than one, you know, you hope that can challenge the defense a little bit by who they have to cover and things like that, and put more stresses on them. So, you know, I think that's going to be a huge key for us, is having both those guys being active and their playmaking abilities. And, you know, I like where we're at offensively. You know, we've done some good things, and it's been good here, even in the interim after the final game against Penn State. You know, we've had a chance to kind of go back to the basic, and, you know, as the program's built upon, and Mel talks about this all the time, is really that fundamentals and techniques. And it was good to kind of reset, so to speak, here after the Penn State game and get a lot of good work in there. And now obviously our focus has changed to more of the game prep, but at the start of the bowl deal, that was it, and that's one of the benefits of playing in a bowl game. And so I think our offense has used that to our advantage, and I think we're in a good spot.
All right, we'll go next to Matt Wenzel. Matt?
Hey, Jay, this is going to be the first time this year you guys won't have Kenneth in the backfield. I was wondering how do you go about, you know, filling that hole that it created when you lose one of the best rushers in the nation?
Yeah, that's obviously a huge challenge. I mean, Ken is, as we all know, a very special player. But, you know, one of the things I think I look back at what we've done this year, and I don't know that I've really tried to be. I mean, you always try to be, but you got to do what you got to do to win the game. But I think we've been balanced. You know, we've had explosive plays in the run and the pass. And so, you know, we touched on it earlier. I think the O-line has really developed. So, we're going to sorely miss him, and he's phenomenal. But yet I feel really good about who we have at that spot, and the guys that have come back, and their development all year behind Ken and with Ken has been very good. And then you couple that with the O-line, and you couple that with the receivers, and then hopefully you're in a balanced situation that you can do some productive things. So, you know, we're still going to start with that. You know, those guys being the forefront of what we do. And so, you know, I'm still excited about where we're at and who we have at the spot, and particularly with it coupled with all the other pieces of our offensive unit.
Next, we'll go to Graham Couch.
Hey, Jay. For a lot of the season, obviously, with Kenneth Walker being the focal point of the offense, that's where things started at Northwestern, and at various points, Peytonthorne and the passing game took a bigger role. I'm wondering, is for a guy who's got a couple years left, is this sort of, I don't want to say the beginning of Peytonthorne as the front man of the offense, so to speak, but do things change without Kenneth a little bit, and your expectations for Peyton now having a year pretty much in your system as the starter? Do you start to look at him differently and what you expect from him?
Yes and no. You know, we've talked all along. I think one of the key elements to our success this year has been the play of Peytonthorne. And I, you know, some of the times it goes a little bit unseen of what we ask him to do, but you know, we're simply trying to, you know, you got to run the offense, you got to manage the offense, and then obviously, you know, he has been blessed to have some unbelievable supporting cast with Ken and the receivers and the O-line. So, you know, I'm excited to see his maturation, you know, throughout the year. I've seen it after a game that he maybe didn't play so well, and then I've even seen it after a quarter or so when he didn't play very well in a game. And then he came on and he showed that poise and resiliency and really did some positive things. So I'm extremely excited about Peyton and where he can go and where he can take this team, because I think as the years come along, you can see he's starting to get more and more comfortable. He does a tremendous job managing it. I see even his leadership and everything that quarterback is asked to do has even come to a new level. So the expectations for him are going to be high, and they're going to be high from me and high from our organization, but I think that's the way Peyton would want it. So I'm really excited about him and where he's at, and his you know, evolvement as we come through and how he's developed. And there's certainly, like all of us, things that I'm going to challenge him to work on, because there's still some pieces that we still have to improve. But yeah, I think it's going to be exciting to see him in the future, and I definitely feel he will take on a little bit different role.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take our next question from Jared Ramsey.
Hey Jay, with Tyler Hunt being doubtful for the game on Thursday, who do you expect to step up as that second tight end in the offense? And what have you seen from Malik Carr throughout bowl practice?
Right. Yeah, obviously Connor Hayward will be certainly you know, the forefront of what we do, and then it's going to be Malik. You know, and again, Malik was a little bit banged up really early in the year, which kind of hurt him. But with Coach Gilmore and how he's come along, I've been excited about him. You know, he's obviously really a big skill athlete, and you know, we're obviously a little bit of a transition of how he's been used in the past, but I think he's working through that, and I see some really positive things coming from him. So those are going to be the main two that will carry the load at that position, and so excited about that, and where Malik's at. And again, this extra time's been very positive for him.
All right, next question from Matt Charbonneau, please.
Jay, obviously you just mentioned Malik, but some other young guys we saw late in the season, maybe a guy like Montori Foster because of injuries, and that leads me toward how do you approach this in terms of guys that have an opportunity to use this as a springboard forward to next year? Maybe some guys we only saw a little bit of, or who've kind of come on late, whether it's some guys up front. Is this important for that springboard sort of into next year, as you know, as much as winning this particular game is for your offense?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Obviously, first and foremost, we need to win the game, and that we need to be focused on. But I think you mentioned Montori, and obviously came up big for us in the Penn State game. Some of the O-linemen that, you know, because we've had to shuffle things around with injury and things of that nature. But I think that's all part of it. And you just see even like Montori played a little bit and how that even springboarded him for the Penn State game. So we definitely want to try to do that when the opportunity is right to do that. If there's some young guys that we can get some more time in there, because with time becomes more experience, confidence, and you begin to play at a new level. So we'll definitely try to do that when it's appropriate, but obviously we got to try to do what we can to help our team be successful.
Question from Kellen Buddy. Go ahead, Kellen.
Hey Jay, you talked about the players playing or practicing in the stadium a little bit, and said that was one of the highlights. Can you maybe dive in a little bit more on, you know, maybe the emotion as they're walking through the tunnel and kind of seeing how big that place is, and for you as well, how great is it to play in such a great spot?
Yeah, it's you know, it's a phenomenal venue. I've been blessed to have the opportunity to be in there some big games before, and so it's awesome. I mean, the way that place is and how they've done that is phenomenal. And you could see our guys. There was definitely, when they got dressed and making the field for practice, there was some guys that you could see they were excited. They were emotional. It kind of got them going a little bit, helped us to have a good practice. And so, yeah, definitely know that our guys noticed it right away. And it's great that we're able to get in there to practice, as we prep for the game, and so they can be in there and kind of experience that. So then when we get to the game, they've already been there, and now we got to go play. But it's definitely an awesome venue, and we're really excited to be here.
All right. Let's see. It's Audrey. You're up next.
Hi. Just going off of Buddy's question a little bit, how have they adjusted to the stadium and playing on an NFL turf field like that? I mean, I know you've only had one practice so far, but what's the adjustment been like?
I think it's been solid. One of the things that you always worry about a little bit playing in a different structure is the lighting, particularly in the special teams area. And obviously it can affect us a little bit offensively in the pass game, but that's why it's been great to be in there. And I think as practice went, the guys adjusted to that, because we did a lot of special teams emphasis yesterday, quick kick game for returners, punt returners, kick returners, because that is a little bit different. It's a little bit different depth perception and the lighting. So, I think initially there were some things, but then as we got going, it was good. And again, thankful that we could get in there to kind of get that out of the way and get guys used to the environment.
I just have one quick follow-up question, if that's all right. Obviously, you were mentioning Peyton's progression and what you've been impressed with this year, but he has an opportunity to break a record, a single-season record. He needs 2 touchdown passes. And so if you could just go off of Kirk Cousins was the last one to do it in 2011. So just maybe more on Peyton and that opportunity that lies ahead of him in this final game of the season for you guys.
Well, that's very good. I'm glad you filled me in on that, because I had no idea about that stat. So that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, if that opportunity is there, he's going to put it where it needs to be and do that. And what we've been working with Peyton the whole year is, in a certain sense, it's simple, stupid. Just progress the play. And I've talked with you guys before on that, and I think he's continuing to do that. And when he does that, he really plays at a high level. And so, again, that will be our focus on Saturday. And if that opportunity presents itself, we'll look forward to it.
All right, thanks, Chase.
All right, we'll go back to Jonathan Shop next. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Coach, a question on that elusive it factor in a quarterback, because Peyton has shown it really since the first game at Penn State. Obviously, this year it's come quite a bit. How would you describe that elusive it factor when it comes to the quarterback position?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting piece of it, that's for sure. You want a guy that I don't think you have to have a guy that necessarily has to be a dual threat guy, but obviously I think when the opportunity presents itself, the thing that I always look for on that elusiveness is can he extend the play, and does he have the ability to extend the play in the right fashion? And that's something that what I thought was a work in progress with Peyton. If you go back to last year of that opportunity at Penn State and where we're at now, I believe is light years, because he has really worked on that. He has really stressed on that, is that how you get to that spot where you can be in that position to extend the play and really not hurting the other guys around you, because sometimes we take that for granted and that becomes a challenge with the O-line. But I think he's really growing in that. And obviously he has the ability, he has that ability to run and make some miss and do those things. So it's been very positive for us. And, obviously we have to pick our time and places when that comes into play, but definitely always a part of it. And we'll continue to work on that. Go.
All right, we'll go next to Jim Comparoni. Go ahead, Jim.
Hey, Jay, thanks for doing this with us today. Hey, can you talk a little bit about Pittsburgh's pass rush and the problems that poses and how good that is and the depth they have in the defensive line and that type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. They, I think obviously really, really strong up front, really, really solid defense overall, because what they do up front, obviously they trust the guys in the back end to get it done. But, I believe they're going into the game, the second in the country in sacks, if I'm not mistaken, and, really long athletic guys up there. And one of the things that I see is their interior guys, really show a lot of twitch in the pass game and give you fits. They really give you fits, and then with the different movements and things Coach Narduzzi does, it really creates issues. So, they're very solid up there, and then they couple it nicely with what they're trying to do in the back end to protect them there. So it will be a great challenge for us because they do some good things up front, and obviously have had strong results of it all year.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we've got time for a couple more with Coach here, so please get your questions in the queue. We'll go next to Chris Solari. Go ahead, Chris.
I'm wondering about putting in a game plan with guys who are in the portal. How have you been able to try and do that, particularly when you have two guys at tight end, and you obviously may need that depth with Tyler out?
Right. Yeah. No, it is a challenge, Chris, a little bit, but. You kind of look, I guess, obviously the first and foremost thing we always try to do is, what fits our style best versus what you're going to see, from the opponent, from the defense. And so that's been the focal point. And then, we have to take into consideration sometimes a little bit of that personnel things if there are some issues. But it's kind of, really it's not much different because you kind of deal with it kind of a little bit throughout the year, sometimes with injuries. If you got a guy that's questionable or whatnot. But you got to kind of have, and a lot of times in when you're planning things offensively, defensively, teams, you always have backup plans. And so that's what we've kind of tried to do as a staff is, have kind of what we think is our base things, but then you kind of have some wrinkles, some backup situations because of the things you're mentioning, be it in a transfer portal, be it a questionable player from an injury perspective, those types of things.
As a follow to that, I mean, obviously Gillison and Ohanba, I think both run like extra point duty. I mean, is this a chance to maybe get some of those younger guys in there, in their roles? I mean, or do you think about the future or do you think about the now with that?
Really, right now we're thinking about the now, because we need to put who we think is best to execute whatever play is presented to them. So we'd be more in the now on that. And now if there's a future person that's even with it, yeah, then I would consider that. But I think that's an issue that we're gonna address the now more than we would the future based upon who we're looking at.
All right, we'll go next to Kellen Buddy. Go ahead, Kellen.
Jay, obviously the game is the main focus here, but leading up to it, obviously the bowl competition, how fun was that from a team building perspective, and how special do you think that was for the guys?
Yeah, it was fun. It was really competitive. Obviously starting off with the basketball deal and then the go-kart deal and all that, a lot of fun, and then winning with the trivia deal last night. So I think our guys really enjoyed it. It was really kind of a neat deal. I'll be honest, I've never kind of been involved in that, had a chance to go to a lot of different bowls, but I think it's really a neat perspective from the Peach Bowl standpoint that they do that. And I think our guys, didn't really know what to expect with it, but once got into it was a lot of fun, and it did I think bring us together in a way, and certainly enjoyed the experience.
All right. And Coach, one note on that, and we may have to check the stats on this, but I think we've been doing that for about 8 or 9 years. And the first 6 years we did it, the team that won the belt won the game.
Interesting.
So, I don't know what that says exactly, but
yeah,
it's out there.
All right.
All right. All right. We'll take our last question. We'll go back to Jonathan. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hey, Coach, on the it factor again with Peyton, what are some of the intangibles that make up the it factor for a quarterback, the stuff that doesn't show up on a stat sheet or a TV screen?
Right. I think it's a lot of things. It's first of all, I think with Peyton and where he's at, he has tremendously high football IQ. He kind of has that moxie, that savvy that's you can't really write or describe sometimes, but they understand football and they understand the situations. And I think that is something that is really, really important. And then the next piece, which I think he is really growing in, is that you have to be very poised. You have to be very poised in what situations you are being presented. And a lot of that is reflective of your play. And what you're doing playing wise, and can you separate it and have the poise to go on and play the next play? You look at great example for me. Go to the Michigan game. Wasn't very good out of the gates, but then came back and played exceptional. The final 3.5 or 3 quarters or whatever the time was, and so that to me was a big step because. He was able to overcome that and kind of recenter himself, and that's sometimes very challenging in the quarterback position. Having played it and being a part of it for so many years, I think that's a huge challenging piece. So to me, it's those things. Obviously, that moxie of football. The other parts, the other things that people don't realize is how much these guys study. I mean, if you're going to be a quarterback, you know, at a big time situation, you know, the time and effort that he puts in and our quarterback put in on their own is phenomenal. But you can see that all shows up because he feels like he's very, very well prepared once he takes the field.